Welcome to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. I'm Audrey Faust, the Manifesting CFO, and I'm your host. And on this podcast, we are going to hear real conversations from women who have built multi six-figure, seven-figure, and even multi seven-figure businesses. We're going to explore the identity shifts, the mindset, and the leadership evolutions that they went through in order to grow a business. You know, the things that nobody talks about, because building wealth isn't only about strategy, it's about the mindset and the woman you have to become in order to do this. Now, let's dive in. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with multi six-figure CEO, Belinda Rosenblum. Belinda is a business money coach and a CPA, and she helps established business owners move beyond the $100,000 mark by installing a financial operating system needed to scale their business to the coveted seven figures. Blending deep money expertise with business strategy, her clients have made or saved over $5 million. Welcome, Belinda. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you, Audrey. I'm so excited for your new podcast and how you're sharing your expertise with the world. So I'm excited to be here.
So we have a lot to talk about today, and I'm super excited to talk to you about it. But in the first 60 seconds or so, can you just share with the audience what your business looks like today and what do you love most about it?
60 seconds, go. Let's
You're
see.
being timed.
Yeah, what I love most about it, I'll start there, I think, is that I don't feel like I could be an employee anymore, like working for somebody else. Like I think what I like most is having the ability to rule the ship, to do the things that I want to do, to say yes to the things I want to say yes to, to have the freedom from a time standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint to be able to do the things that we want to do. And sometimes more than others, sometimes like I don't have as much time freedom because we're launching or something, but literally 15 minutes before I was on the call with you, I took a walk down to the lake. You know what I mean? And it's that is really one of the parts that I love the most about being an entrepreneur. And I work with my husband actually in the business too. So it's really great for us both to be so committed to the future of Own Your Money. And what we do, so this is my 19th year. Essentially, we started in 2007. Amazing. I know. I feel like a dinosaur and a pro and an OG in the internet space. Like there was no Instagram when I started. Like it's just kind of funny to think about. But now, so we did taught personal finance. I was a wealth expert in that space for 12 years. And then now I've shifted to small business finance because I got to the point where I was so tired of telling people like spend less than you make because I'm a make more. I'm a don't shrink your dreams, expand your bank account kind of person.
100%.
So
Me too.
yeah. So what I was realizing is that I'm trying to help people squeeze a quarter out of a nickel because that's what they were bringing home as entrepreneurs. And I was like, no, let's go make the dollar. And so then I pivoted the whole business to now help small business owners with our signature cash flow CEO program, and then some other smaller mini courses at the front end, and then an academy at the back end. So we're here for those 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. So when you think back to the earlier stage of your business, what did that season actually look like? Like you did mention you pivoted your business. Let me ask
There were
you that.
a lot of
how was
seasons.
that pivot?
There were a lot of seasons. So, I mean, I'll start it. I think something a lot of people can relate to, which was my first few years in business. And it's tricky because so many of us are so good at what we do, yet we never actually learn how to run a business. Right? Like I got a mess. So we use something called Video Ask inside our stuff. And so if you sign up for any of our freebies, they generally have a Video Ask little video for me. I was just listening to today a message that I got from an interior designer who was saying, you know what, like I made money when I worked for somebody else and now I work for myself and I can't pay myself. I don't make anything. That's what she said.
Yeah.
She's like, It's really sad." And I was like, "Oh, but I get it." Like, it happens to so many of us that we know how to be good employees, but we don't know how to actually run the business. I'm actually doing a talk in, I guess by the time this airs, I will have just done the talk, called "The Business of Being a Creator" for a big conference, because we're never taught that.
Yeah.
And so in my second year of business, I was one of those people that gross, like the business made $155,000. I took home nothing. Like
Mm,
the profit of the business was only $2,348.
wow.
And I just kept hoping month after month, if I just focused on more revenue, that it would solve all the problems. But it didn't. Like, I literally burst into tears when I opened up my profit and loss statement to see that. And so, I think that there are absolutely different seasons. And part of it is learning how to, my company's called Own Your Money, but learning how to really own the business from a responsibility standpoint and being like, okay, no one's going to come in and save me. Like when I got that P&L, I was like, this sucks. I was like, I can't keep going like this. This is not what I thought I signed up for. And I was like, this shit is not going to work. Like something has to change. And so then the next year, I was like, okay, I can't just focus on revenue. I have to also figure out, how do I add more systems into the business? How do I create more strategy? How do I have a plan that actually pays me, not as an afterthought, but plans it in to the revenue I'm making, the expenses that I'm paying out. So then the next year we grossed $256,000 and we profited $96,000. And then we just kept going from there. But it was like I find about every 2 or 3 years, there's an evolution. There's like a shift that happens. And that was my first one when I was like, I got to put on my big girl panties. I have to figure out how I'm going to make this business work, because otherwise I am going to go back and have to get a job. Like I could survive the first 2 years. I was like house hacking. I had become a self-made millionaire. Like I had resources, but I didn't want to put in all the blood, sweat, and tears to literally feel like a volunteer in my
Yeah.
unintentional nonprofit, which is what I had created.
Right.
So, and I think that that happens because we never learn. And I was a CPA. Like I'm actually good with
I
numbers
know. I
and
was going
money
to
and,
mention that. Like that.
like
How did that feel?
I was an accounting major. Oh my God, it was so much shame. Like I did not tell that story, just FYI, for years because I taught personal finance. I didn't teach business finance. So I was like,
Right.
nobody really needs to know that part of my story. And I had a different story that I told on the personal finance side. And then once I got into small business and I started working with more and more entrepreneurs, I just noticed that they were in a similar trap. Like we think that 6 figures is going to be the be all and end all, but that's really just a milestone. It's not a destination. And we have to learn how to grow to 6 figures, but then grow past it so that we can actually pay ourselves what we want to get paid for all the effort that we're putting in, and then learn how to create a business that doesn't require as much effort from us. Because a lot of the getting to 6 figures is a lot of efforting. It's a lot of hustle. It's a lot of one-to-one. And then to grow past it, though, this is why I kind of call it a trap. Like you feel like you're done, but actually,
Yeah.
what got you to 6 figures is not going to be the same business that gets you to multi 6 figures and then 7 figures.
Yeah. And, I want to bring up the statistic that only less than 5% of business owners actually make it. Women business owners actually make it to the multi 6-figure point, which is crazy. So they're
Yeah,
probably working
it's true.
for nothing.
Right. Well, that's just revenue, even, right? Like, who
Yeah.
knows what
That's just
profit
revenue.
really looks like for them? So I got to the point where, I did that. So you asked about the pivot. So every 2 years I would end up evolving. So the first one was that shift, and then I got married. The beauty of, not only did I make more money that next year, but I got engaged because I finally stopped working so freaking much, and then I let myself date more. And I had this guy that was interested in me, and then we started dating more, and then we got engaged that year, and then we had a really short, like 4-month engagement because I didn't get married till I was 40 or 39, turning 40 kind of thing, and then I wanted to have kids, and I had a kid at 41 and a kid at 43. And so I shifted my entire business at that point to go online. And I was online, like there was no Kajabi, there was no Thinkific, there was no Teachable. Like my first course, I'm not to totally date myself, but some people will resonate with this. It was on teleseminar where you had to like press *6 to mute and unmute yourself. like, it was
I've
so
never heard of
crazy.
it.
Oh my God. See, I told you I'm dating myself, but that's all we had. We didn't have Zoom. Like, we didn't have any of this. So we just had literally phone lines was our only option to like teach and record. It's so wild to even think about now.
That is,
Anyway,
like, wild because you
I
think
know.
that it's
You think
more
that this is how
recent,
it's always
right?
been. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. So then I created transcripts and workbooks and everything to go with those programs. And I just sold a lot of online courses that funded 2 maternity leaves. And I find that it's such an important skill is to learn how to use money as a tool for the life that you want to live. And so that was an important lesson in that next evolution. And I had to say goodbye to my previous business because at that point, that was my business that was very reliant on me and my speaking. Like I would go to a luncheon keynote in Las Vegas. And so I'd be gone for like 36 to 48 hours. I didn't plan on doing that when I had kids. So I really wanted to shift my business model ahead of time. And that happens with a lot of our students is that they'll come to us and say, I know I want to, grow a family or I want to feel safer to have a second child or, different like life moments that they want to learn how to have their business support them. So we funded 2 maternity leaves, created all these courses, and then I created a membership, and then I did that for a few years, and then it was 2019, and I was like, "Okay, I've kinda said everything I want to say." I had a book, I had a TV show at one point, I had a radio show, I had, like, 3 courses, I had a membership. I was like, "Where do I go from here?" That's when I pivoted, and it was interesting because the moment I'd been thinking about the choice for a while, and I really appreciate in-person events for this, and so I was sitting at an in-person event, and I was hearing all the people in the audience share their challenges with money, the emotional ones, but also the strategic ones. Like they just didn't understand how to set up real money systems and how to create a plan. And my heart started to hurt,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like I'm very intuitive and empathetic. And I started to feel the pain in the room. And I was like, oh, wow, I think this is what I need to help next.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, I pivoted the entire, made the decision to pivot the entire business. I know, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
At one live event.
Yeah, it was at James's BBD Live, yeah, back in
Oh my
2019.
gosh.
Yeah, and by the end of the day, I talked to James, I talked to Brandon Lucero, I talked to Kate Dramus, it's like the people I trusted in this audience, and I was like, "This is what I feel called to do," and they were like, "Oh my god, it's a huge need." I love the direction, and then I just went for it. And then I created a pilot program, and then I created the first version of Cash Flow CEO back in 2019, and now we're on the 3rd version, at this point, and kind of the 4th, like, evolution of messaging around. So it's like, I think it's also getting that as you continue, right, that you're not done. I don't know if that's good news or bad news for people, but I feel like maybe it'll just take some of the pressure off of having to get it right, is that when I feel like I get into that, it has to be right energy. It's very like my old perfectionist kind of a thing. And then I kind of step back and I'm like, okay, how can I hold this a little lighter? How can I hold this a little bit more as a test and just know that if it's not this, it's going to be something even better. So I
Yeah.
just try and put things out there and try things out and, hope that with each shift, it's an up level. Usually it is, not always, sometimes it's a little dip and then we figure it out and then we just keep going back up for more. No, but that's what I find is that about every 2 or 3 years, there's something that changes either in the structure of the programs, in the focus of my team, in the positioning of our signature program, but that if we can realize that we don't have to be so perfect about this because it will evolve, it helps you act faster. And I find that the clarity comes from action. It doesn't come from just sitting in your office thinking about it.
100%. Right. Yeah. Like, I love that. Like, it's sometimes as an entrepreneur, I think we never feel like we're done, right? We're always improving and always changing. And I think that's what you're referencing to. Like, and it's a good thing if you like that, right? I love change. I'm one of the rare anomalies that love
Yeah, I
change.
was gonna say that is pretty rare. I mean, I think that it's sometimes I like it, usually I like it. Like, I like adventure, and I feel like to some extent, entrepreneurship is a big adventure. And
Yes.
so if you hold it like that, then that helps you too from a perspective standpoint. But I think I think it's a tough awakening for so many of us that prefer safety. and that are
Yeah.
looking for certainty. And what I encourage our students to do is to actually start to embrace it and to learn how to be resilient through it and to be able to have the plan so that even if things don't go according to plan, you know the levers you can pull to then shift and evolve from there. But I find so many people are winging the whole strategy side or money side of their business that all change feels scary. But if you had a plan and then you can see, okay, wait a second, this one did this versus this, you can start to see what you want to shift to create a different result instead of feeling like it's all happening to you. You realize that you're actually the cause,
Yeah.
right? It's back to that responsibility a little bit, but I like to shift it to it's actually happening by you or for you
For you.
instead of
Yeah.
to you. And then when you start to shift that, you're like, "Oh, wait, I'm not a victim to my business, right? I created this business. So how do I want to recreate this business?" And that's a lot of my messaging and like just how I help people in the world and how I show up is much more of this like inspiring kick in the pants kind of a thing. That's like, if you don't like the business, then let's create something different. Right? Or
Yes.
if the
You have
offer
to
isn't
love it.
working, then let's tweak it so that it does work how you want to do it. But that I think it's something that I've kind of learned the hard way, I think, is to hold it lighter and believe me, I'm still like learning this as well. Like growth is one of my core values and it is a new level, new devil. Like it is as you keep evolving, you think you figured it out and then you're like, "Oh, new shit's popping up." Great, let's go deal with that now. It's like peeling an onion and then you cry
I
as you
did
peel
that.
some more sometimes, you
I
know?
love the cry analogy, though. I always say, the mindset stuff's like an onion. You just keep peeling it away, layer after layer.
Yeah.
But I
But
love
I
the
find
fact that
there are
you threw the
sometimes
crying in
tears with
there.
each new layer because it's like, "Oh, I didn't realize that was gonna hit me," you know?
What
So,
are
yeah, I
what are
hope that
some
that
of
helps.
the major, like, mindset shifts that you have come across? Some of those layers, some of those tears that kinda
Yeah.
knocked you down in your journey?
Yeah, you got it. It's a good question. I mean, the biggest one probably was that original one, right? Was that, like, 2K profit moment.
Yeah,
That had a lot of tears that came with it. And, obviously, like, ahas don't have to come with tears, but sometimes they do come with shocks or, like, real,
right.
like, important moments, right? And that was a big one where I was like, "Okay, wait a second, I can't be passive in this." Like, I have to be the one that puts on the big girl pants and says, "Okay, like, how do I lead this business as the business owner, not as the employee instead, like waiting for somebody to come in with the vision and the plan and make that happen." So I think that was a big one. Back in June 2022, I went through breast cancer. I think you know that, but not
Sorry.
everybody will. And so that was a big shock along the way in terms of an identity shift. It was a really rough day. It was June 14th, 2020, and a day that will live in infamy for me. 8 a.m., I got a call that, or not a call, a test that I tested positive for COVID. So then I'm quarantined all day. And then I get a call from the hospital that it was like from a mammogram and then a biopsy that I was in fact diagnosed with breast cancer. And so now I'm quarantined and diagnosed. So I can't even like hug my husband. Like it was really rough. He kind of reluctantly gave me a hug, but was so afraid that then I was going to somehow give him COVID and he had to take care of our 2 kids,
Yeah.
you know? And so that was like that was a
Wow.
big shift, I think that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was a Tuesday of the second week of a 3-week launch. So it was smack in the middle of a launch that I was doing for Cashflow CEO. And it was this moment of like, and then 2 days later, I lost my voice. So it wasn't even like I could continue, but I had made the decision that or the next day after all this shit went down that, you know what, this is the wake up call that it's about my health right now.
Yeah.
And so we had 3 people that had signed up by that point, and I was like, "Great, we have 3 people for this launch." Like, we wanted 10, but I was like, 3 are amazing, you know? And it was how can I prioritize my health? How can I prioritize my self-care? How can I, um, you know, like, allow my team to step in a lot of ways?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had already done in my business what I help people do in terms of not needing to be the only person that gets things done. Like, I had 2 friends who went through cancer, similar timing, and one of them, she was the main person and her business closed essentially because she couldn't make any money, she didn't have any recurring revenue streams, she didn't have stuff to sell if she wasn't doing the selling. And so then it took a while and all till everything was done for her that she could reopen things. And so I really recognize the importance of future proofing your business so that it's not all reliant on you and you do have what I call like baseline revenue, or like a stable, ideally like 20K of revenue so that your team can get paid, you can get paid, and everything
The lights on.
continues. Yeah, exactly. Even if you can't work. And we forget that profits can power our purpose. Like if the business isn't making money, it's hard to keep the lights on. Like sometimes literally
Right?
for like brick and mortars, but for us too. And so that was a big identity shift that I went through. And then it also helped me reconnect more with my passion for what I do in terms of helping other women and especially moms create the business that could survive them stepping away for a health reason, for their kids, for their parents. Many of us are in this sandwich generation where we do have to care down and up, you know,
Yeah.
in our lives. I think that's a big one. And I think overall, it's the shift from being the employee to the CEO and realizing that no one was going to come in and do this, that I need to do it. And that I find about every 2 or 3 years, there is this next level. And I'm going through an evolution right now. I just started working with another coach. And even earlier today, we had a heart to heart about, like, oh, look at this thing I'm doing now. That's like, I thought I healed that thing from my childhood. It's like, nope, you didn't,
It comes up in a
and
different way. I see
yeah,
that all the time with myself and my clients. Oh, I recognize that one. Like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
we were
And,
here
and
before.
Right, and just to take away any shame that, like, it still happens even
Yeah.
almost 20 years into running the business, and it's about being willing to go there. It's recognizing that, you're not done, that sometimes there are new levels of things, that you got a certain level of healing, but now you wanna go to a certain level bigger, so then there's a more healing you might need to do about it, or, like, a new revelation. So one of the practices that we take people through inside Cash Flow SEO is something called rewriting your money story. And so I find that you can't just tell somebody, oh, here's a new affirmation. It's like you actually need to go to the source, figure out where they locked in that belief, and then reframe it back at the source and forgive themselves and usually forgive somebody else. And so we were doing this process on a call with Jamie, one of our students, and she was like, "Oh, I've been through this before." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. And we're going to do it again." Cuz I'm like, again, it's that intuition, right? I'm like, something is still here for you
Yeah.
that's holding you back from going to that next level. And what we got to is that she would keep herself flying under the radar. Like she had this fear now of being visible. She's at the
Hmm.
100K level and now she wants to keep going to the multi six figure level. And she's like, but I feel like there's some part of myself holding me back. And so what we got to is that when she was in second grade, she had undiagnosed dyslexia. And the way that she survived in classes was flying under the radar. That's what felt safe. Now here she is, six-figure business owner, has a lot more resources than she had as a 7-year-old, and she's defaulted back to that patterning. And she was like, "You know what? I've talked about that so many times, but I didn't put together that I'm still living as the 7-year-old even though I'm in my 40s now." And so the point I'm making is that, and it was just such a relief for her to be like, oh, wow, how can I forgive myself for not raising my hand as a 7-year-old? To
Yeah.
forgive my parents and my teachers for like not helping me get help at that point, and instead recognize how can I make it safe for myself at this level. So, I think that it's recognizing that there will be evolutions, and it's been important for me to give myself some grace, and some care when I'm going through that next evolution, which is where I am right
100%.
now. So perfect time to do this podcast
Of
interview.
course. Are you on your way to seven figures now, Belinda? Is that your next goal?
We're close to 500. Oh,
Okay.
500 is going to be our
Or
next
500?
milestone.
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, within 1 to 2 years for 7 figures. That's so, and I find that it's actually helpful even to create the plan that gets to 7 figures or gets me close to 7 figures so that I can see, "Oh, this is what has to grow.
Yeah.
These are the levels." And I've started to even recognize, and this might be helpful for people too, that I was so focused on, and there's some great books, by the way, like I love 10X is Easier Than 2X, and that
Yeah.
I love Dr. Ben Hardy's next one, The Science of Scaling. Have you read that one yet or
Haven't
listened to that
read
one yet?
that one, but I read the 10X,
Oh, yeah.
2X.
Yeah, you would love it. I think it's like right here on my desk. I'm in a book membership, and this is the book. So Dr. Ben is coming on next week. And so I re-listened to it a second time now. And what it really got to, which I think is important in this question of what are you scaling to, is really what are you optimizing for? And so it was a big realization that I don't actually want to be optimizing just for people in the front end for me, like just in the cash flow CO. It's really making sure that I'm attracting in the right people to get the best results for that program. So not just anybody, but really who it's designed for. And then we have a back end cash flow CO academy. And so thinking ahead to who's the best person for that. Because really our path to 7 figures is continuing to grow that part of our business, like to grow the membership on the back end. 'Cause, and I think for everybody, it's important to have some stable recurring revenue, not just be totally launch driven. And so
Yes.
that's how we've, yeah, that's how we work with that need, I'll say. And I think it's an important realization to make sure that you have that. Sometimes you can get it from payment plans or, ongoing clients, but I think that it's always important to make sure that you're creating that baseline revenue that I mentioned. And so that's how we create it. And that's what I'm seeing is, okay, how do I focus on the more of the right people on the front end so that they then want to continue with us moving forward. And then we can, like, I literally just got a Voxer from somebody in the last week, and it was like a screenshot from their QuickBooks. You'll appreciate this. And it was your profit is increased in 2025 over 2024 by over $52,000. And so then my next question is, well, what did your revenue do? But if your revenue went up by $100,000, it's not as
Right.
good, you know? And her revenue went down 6%, but her profit went
Wow.
up 52 grand, right? And part of that is the work I teach. It's like really shifting to recognize that all revenue is not created equal. And so how do you be more intentional about the price you're charging and what you're offering so that that is more aligned with the life that you want to lead and the lifestyle you want? And then making sure that you're managing the expenses and the profit so that you're creating the profitability that you want. And so that's it's kind of at the core of what we do. And then that person continued with us because she's like, this is really working. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Of
know.
course.
Right. And so that's where we're headed and that's our path to get there. Yeah.
I love that. So, looking at your journey, and we did touch on this quite a bit, how did the inner work and then the practical side of building your business grow together?
For me, I always view them as two sides of the same coin, to be honest with you. Like to be able to make a big external shift, I also find that I need to make an internal shift. I find that they're not really independent. And so and this is for our students as well as for myself personally, that you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't believe in yourself and that it's going to work, you're not going to ever put out that great strategy. So it doesn't even matter. Right? And so it's wrecking that I teach it as 3 legs on the table, like money story, which is the mindset piece, money systems, and money strategy. And you need all 3 because not having any one, it's not like you get to average the 3, if you rate them 1 to 10. It's like all 3 drop to the lowest number because they will only be as effective as the lowest number. So I find that and like this year, I intuitively felt like it was going to be a big year for an up level for me. And so I hired a one-on-one coach. I haven't had a one-on-one coach in a few years, but like a leadership performance coach because I'm like, okay, the next level's coming. Either I can see it and keep it at bay because it doesn't feel safe, or I can increase my own capacity to handle the 500K and then the million. And then wouldn't you know, I got a huge opportunity to speak in April. Well, I guess by then it will have just passed, but in Puerto Rico. And I think it's about me expanding my capacity for these kinds of opportunities. And then I get the call, hey, we're running this event. Can you come speak to, 75 of our top creators at this exclusive event? And we'll fly you in and we'll take you out on the yacht and we'll do this. And I'm like, okay.
Sign me up.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I guess I better expand the capacity around now. Yeah, I was like, okay, I think I'm on the right path. This is what I was imagining was going to happen.
And that's,
And that's what we
the
need to do.
podcast is manifest, manage, and multiply. And it's so interlinked, like your inner work. So inside my manifest framework that I use, like it's the mindset. And you shifted your mindset and you manifested this opportunity that connected with that, which is amazing. Like it's
Right.
exactly, if your
It's like
mindset's
you're
not there,
tuning
you
in the
wouldn't
radio. Yeah, it's like you're tuning in the radio to 1, and then somebody else needs like 101.1, and it's like, oh look, Belinda's already playing on that station. Let's go,
Yeah.
let's go tune in over there. And I think of it like you need to set the table. Like imagine like a Thanksgiving dinner or something, right? You need to set the table first, and then the guests will like come knocking on the door versus having the guests come and you have nothing to serve them. And so, I mean,
It's
it was
great.
even like that, honestly, with dating. This is going to be a funny analogy, but like
It is.
when,
It's like that with everything. I mean,
but it's true. It's like, I need it. And it's so ironic yet perfect, right? That I met my husband in the year that I got my shit together in the business, or, that we like, I recognized him as the valuable asset in my life that he could be, but like that if I wasn't ready, I probably would have just let it go. But because I had made the decision that January that no, I needed to focus on getting my shit together, both in the business and personally. And I think of it like I had created this life that I got really intentional about. And I could see the spot where a relationship would fit into that. It wasn't like I needed him to complete me. It wasn't like my life would only be fulfilled with that relationship. It was like I was visioning and
or you had to make a
creating
thought for him
the
because you were
life.
too full.
Well, because I'm a super
Yeah.
achiever. Like I'm a high
Yeah.
performer, a high achiever, a highly responsible person, and super independent. And so, by the time that you meet somebody at 37, 38, like you don't really need them in the same kind of way. Like I was already a self-made millionaire. I had the money, I had the business, but I could envision the life that would be more fulfilled with the relationship and the family that I really wanted.
Yeah.
And to relate it back to business, I think it's the same way. It's like we have to be able to envision the life and the business that we want, and then make sure that it's not there to prove that we should be loved, or prove that we belong, or like prove that we're a good person, but that instead the business can support us being who we are in the world and helping and serving in a way that feels aligned and congruent with who we are.
Beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. And I believe you have a free gift for our audience. Can you tell them a little bit about that?
So yeah, we have this pay yourself calculator, and people find it so useful. Like I'm randomly at conferences and they're like, I still have this bookmarked in my tabs because I just keep referring to this because it's so useful. Because as you scale, especially to the multi six figures, the 500K, the $1 million, owner's pay doesn't just work itself out. Like I learned that the
Yeah.
hard way. And when you don't plan for it, you end up paying everyone and everything first. And you just pay yourself last, like you take the scraps. And so, what the pay yourself calculator does is it shows you what your business needs to earn in revenue to support you paying yourself and paying all your expenses and paying your taxes. And so, you basically just fill in a couple of numbers and everything else is calculated for you so that you can be like, okay, this is where I'm at now. This is the next step of like the new minimum that I want to get to. And then this is the ideal. And it's super simple. You just fill in a few numbers and you're like, it like opens up your eyes to okay, no wonder this isn't working. This is really what I need to be making. And then I even have a little bonus calculation that I do where I show you how to double your take home pay without needing to double your revenue. So, highly recommend.
Sounds amazing.
Be like, Audrey downloads it next. All
It
good.
actually reminds, but it probably a little simpler, reminds me of the profit plan I do with my one-on-one coaching. So it has all that. But
I love it. Yeah, definitely simpler than that. But yeah.
where can people find you, Belinda? They want to
Sure.
connect with you.
So, yeah, I'd say Instagram and LinkedIn are my biggest spots. And I'm on Instagram at Own Your Money. And then on LinkedIn is my name and Belinda Rosenblum. So Rosenblum. Totally connect, share a picture of this. I'll reshare it. I think we all need to help Audrey get this new podcast off the ground. And I think that more of us who are at that multi six-figure level need to feel supported
Yeah.
because there's a lot of resources for the newest business owners, but I find there aren't as much for us at the six-figure, multi-six-figure, growing to seven-figure mark. And so we need to support the resources that exist and the groups that recognize that the journey is different at the level that we're at versus the level that we started at. So,
100%.
yeah, I can't wait to, come find you and make sure that you mention that you heard me on Audrey's podcast. I'd love it.
Awesome. So, one last closing question, Belinda, that I ask everybody. If you could speak to a woman standing at the edge of her next level, what would you want her to know?
It's gonna sound funny, but if I'm standing talking to a woman who's at the edge of her next level, you're gonna be okay even if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Because, we put so much pressure on ourselves that it has to be right. We have to succeed. And if we don't succeed, what are people gonna think? And it's like we're judging people before anybody even has a chance to judge us.
Yeah,
And we're so hard on ourselves. And so I
yeah,
really want to get to the point where it's like, give yourself some grace. You're gonna try it. You're going to see if it works. And if it doesn't work, you're going to learn from it. If it does work, great. But I do find I learn a lot more when things don't work,
right?
just a reminder there. But either way, you're going to be okay in who you are as a woman, as a mother, or as a daughter. It doesn't, and even as a business owner, doesn't diminish if whatever that next level first attempt doesn't work. But instead, like, what if it does? And to expand your own capacity now to be able to contain the success at the next level, because otherwise you will self sabotage and push it away. So, the more that you can stand in the what if it does work and create that nervous system regulation now, like that openness to the next level, the sooner it will come into your reality.
Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of that one quote. What if, someone is like, what if I fail? And then the response is, well, what if you fly? Right? We're always like, what if I fail? Like, but maybe we need to switch that into what if we fly? What if, eventually we will fly. We all learn to fly, right?
That's how I feel like. It's like if it's not this time, it's gonna be the next one. Like one of these is
Yeah.
gonna hit, and that if we trust in that, we trust in ourself and our own resilience and our own willingness, then it's that then we recognize that our success is inevitable. So it's not an
Yeah.
if, it's just a when.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Belinda. You shared some amazing wisdom for everybody, and I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. This was so fun, and I really hope that it's inspired you to take the risks, to go out there and to pay more attention to your money story and your money strategy. Because all that is part of the identity shift you need to be making. So I love it. Thanks for having me, Audrey.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Manifest, Manage, and Multiply Money podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with another woman who's building something meaningful. And if you are enjoying this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a review. Leaving a review can help more women discover these conversations. And until next time, keep manifesting, managing, and multiplying your money.